Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator. And tonight I have a preview for you. Yes, folks, we've got a brand new WARBIRD that's going to be coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator very, very soon. As a matter of fact, probably a few days after this particular recording goes live. So, the one I'm talking about here is this one. This is the Big Radials P-40 Warhawk. And right now I have the beta version. I've actually been helping them beta test for the last couple of months here. This thing is, in my opinion, just about ready for prime time. I know we've been getting a lot of Warbirds recently, but trust me when I tell you, this one is really top notch. It's up there with the Corsair and the Spitfire. Now, granted, remember, it is MSFS, so some things don't work, like there's no gunfire or anything like that. But as far as the flight model and everything, I think you will find that this one flies very well. All right, so let's take a quick look before we hop into the cockpit. First and foremost, your starting liveries. These are the liveries that you will be getting for it. So as you can see, it's not much. However, Big Radials have assured me that they do have something in the works where they will be adding more liveries to this. But I'd say it's a pretty decent little lineup there. You get 5 liveries. And on the weight and balance page, you're going to want to do a similar thing to what you did with the Corsair, if you caught that video. So you've got your wing tanks here. You're probably going to want to set those to full, and you've also got your fuselage tank, which you'll need to bump up there as well. I don't recommend you put it all the way to 100 because that'll kind of put you overweight there. And the other important thing on the right-hand side, the CG position, you're going to want to set that up right around 30-ish. So right there should be good. You can see the center of gravity is like pretty much where it should be in a tail dragger. So yeah, those are the things that you need to pay attention to when you are flying this thing. And of course, you will need to give it a little bit of rudder trim and aileron trim, or excuse me, elevator trim. But we'll go over that once we get into the cockpit. Now I'm going to forego the cold and dark start today because this is just a preview video. After this aircraft has been officially released, I'll do a more in-depth video where we'll discuss like the full cold and dark start, and we'll go for another fly around. However, for today, we are going to a place where this particular livery that I am using would have been used back in World War II. This is the country of Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. And in Burma today, we are going to be taking off from an airport known as Magway. From Magway, we're going to be heading due southwest to a little mountain airport known as An. So pretty straightforward, should take us about 14-15 minutes flying time to get there. Of course, we will have a whole bunch of mountains along the way, so plenty of time for us to do some shenanigans and figure out exactly what the P-40 is capable of. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the cockpit on this beautiful Burmese morning. right, so we are on board, and as you can see, the interior of this aircraft is pristine. Actually, some might say it's a little too clean considering it's a Warbird. But hey, you know, if we think about it from the standpoint of these being replicas of Warbirds that would be used in modern air shows, it kind of makes sense that they would definitely keep this thing looking pretty cool. You can see even the rivets and all of that stuff are very well done. Alright, we'll do our controls wipeout, so our ailerons, elevators, can't really see the rudders, but we're going to assume that those are working okay. There is no tail wheel lock in this thing, so yeah, if you're religious, you might want to say a little prayer for me as we go down the runway right now. Here we go, brakes down, throttles up, and brakes off. Now with this thing, you definitely don't want to go to max power. They recommend that you keep it around 30, 35 on a manifold pressure. As the tail comes up, we'll need to add a little bit of rudder. We already added some rudder trim. I trimmed it about 1 unit to the right. And we do have a slight crosswind as well. 100 knots, right about there. We should lift off. Perfect. Okay, not too shabby a takeoff. Coming from the Corsair, I would say that was considerably easier a takeoff. A lot less trim needed for this one. All right, we're gonna make a teardrop turn here. Oh, yeah, I should probably contact you. Oh, even better. All right, we're good, thank you. Now I'm going to forego the flight following and everything because this is really a short flight. So let's hop back to the outside view and check out Burma in the morning. Or should I say Myanmar in the morning. Now, as I stated before, the version that I'm currently using is a beta version. And I gotta tell you that the updates have been coming in kind of hot and heavy of late as they nail things down into their final form for release. One thing that I will have in this bird that you will not have in the release version, as far as I'm aware, is an autopilot. Now, I'm primarily using the autopilot just to kind of keep things steady while I go outside for my little cinematic shots that I like to do. But for yourself, just so you're aware, Big Radials, their basic rule when it comes to their aircraft that they're doing is fly the damn plane. So the autopilot is actually disabled and you will need to hand fly this thing everywhere. I will say this though, once it's trimmed up, she is really docile. She will actually hold altitude and hold heading properly just by you setting your trim. So that is something to look forward to, and it is indeed a welcome change when it comes to warbirds, because as we know, warbirds all have their own different quirks, as we have seen so far with the Corsair, and how I will show you a little bit later with the Spitfire and some of the upcoming warbirds that I hear about and get a chance to show you. But for now, let's go back to the outside view. So, as you can see, this is a pretty docile bird once you get her up to your cruise altitude, and of course pull the prop pitch back a little bit and set your mixture to auto rich and trim her out. Now, one thing you're probably also noticing is that because I forgot to fill that fuel tank all the way, we're starting to run a little low on gas. So we may want to switch our fuel tank from the fuselage tank to one of the two wing tanks. You'll notice the gauges for those are on the floor. Now, even though we've got roughly about 600 nautical miles range in this bird standard, it's really easy to get distracted when you're looking around this gorgeous cockpit and the world around you. So try not to forget to switch around your tanks, and remember, the plane will tell you when you're starting to run low on gas. All right, I want to take a moment here to show you some of the hidden features that they have in this bird. First and foremost, if we pop this open, you'll notice a little hidden comm stack and transponder, which I think is pretty cool. It's not exactly period correct, mind you, but you know what? I'm going to give them extra points for artistic creativity on that. Now, on the right side is where some of the hidden features are that you're going to want to pay attention to. When we pop it open, the first switch that you're going to see is going to be for takeoff tips, and there's a second one underneath for landing tips. That'll help immensely when you're learning this bird. The second two switches are RTDM flaps and gears, which are mode switches that switch you from easy mode to realistic mode. And then, of course, the bottom switch is going to allow you to do that. Basically, hide your stick or bring it back. Now I'm going to cast your attention here to the top of that stick. You'll notice a little button in the center. That button is for the hydraulics, and it's needed when you have this thing in RTDM mode. RTDM, by the way, stands for Read the Damn Manual, so I recommend that you do that. And that'll explain a little bit further about how the gears and flaps actually functioned in this bird when you have it in that mode. All right, so you may have noticed that we do have some shenanigan country coming up ahead, so folks, strap in. We are about to head down. So I hope you enjoy my little Burmese mountain shenanigans there. I had to do it. You know me. I like to put these warbirds through their paces here. And there's no better way to do that than to just have some shenanigans around the mountainside there. And I will caution you, just like all the other warbirds that have been coming out for Microsoft Flight Simulator, the developers have taken great pains to pretty much model everything, including what can break this bird. So you're going to want to keep that in mind when you're flying around. Be mindful of things like your manifold pressure and your RPM and your temperatures, especially when you're flying this bird and some of the others. I would say that Big Radials did a pretty good job, and they are still tweaking even to the last second, and I expect they probably will still be tweaking after this bird becomes officially released, which, if my timing is correct on this video, should be roughly around the same time. So I guess this will no longer be a preview video, but a review video. So there you go. All right, so you're probably seeing some weird discoloration out there. That is actually the Burma Road. Let's go check it out. There you go. That is the Burma Road, the famous Burma Road. And I'm not even 100% sure if it actually does look like that today. I have no idea what the Myanmar Department of Public Works do with their roads. But we're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. At least it's a recognizable landmark. Okay, we're getting close to our destination airport, which is Am, so we'll give them a call really quick.
Tiger 708 miles northeast to land.
I think they're right over there. Okay. All right, so we are landing to the north.
Right traffic runway 36 Tiger 70.
Not a problem. Okay, so now comes the fun part. We're going to need to trim her up, and of course I am pulling the prop pitch back up to full, and we'll get our mixture also up to full. There we go. So for the trim on this thing, you're going to want to play a lot with the elevator. I've found that with the gear down and the flaps down, you probably want to have the elevator trim up to about 3. Rudder trim, you can leave that where it was initially on takeoff and you should be fine. So we'll just set that up really quick here. We'll start pulling up the elevator trim. As the nose rises, the airspeed will fall, and we'll just keep playing that trim tango until we get to where we can put down the gear and the flaps. Okay, good deal. Let's go ahead and tell them.
6 Tiger 70.
Alright, now comes the really fun part. So we'll continue trimming her up just a bit here as we get ready to lower both the gear and the flaps. If we were in RTDM mode, we will need to switch the levers on the left side of the cockpit around and then hold down the hydraulics to get the gear out and to get the flaps down. But today, we're going to do it in easy mode. Okay, so we've got 3 down and locked, as it were, and we do have flaps all the way to full. So we have trimmed up. We want it right around 3, right about there. And we'll keep our rudder trim roughly at 1 to the right. And now we'll need to increase our speed or increase our power. So we'll put the manifold pressure right around 30, between 30 and 35-ish. That'll keep us at a nice 400 feet per minute descent. As we make our way around the final, you can see there's going to be some trees near the end there. Now, even though this aircraft was not as notorious as, say, the Corsair when it comes to visibility straight forward, the way that the gear are on this bird means that it sits at a bit of a slightly higher angle. So when you're coming in, you almost have to come in kind of steep and then compensate for it on the flare. Guessing some of you were probably getting a little scared there for a second. You thought I was going to stay in the outside view for this landing. Yeah, I know some of you hate it. You comment on videos talking about fly it like a real pilot. Well, you know what? If I were flying it like a real pilot, I'll probably have a GoPro attached to the bottom, and that would be the footage you'd see of my landing. But I am in the cockpit, and we are coming down, so we're going to pull the power back and begin our flare. I'm deliberately going long because this is a surprisingly longer runway for this bird. Alright, we're down. We just need to stay somehow on the center here. Alright, a little bit of back stick pressure. Let's get that tail to drop. Okay, ma'am, we'll do that in a moment as soon as I can figure out where the heck we are, how far down the runway. Alright, we'll ease that back pressure now that we're going a little slower. And we'll open our canopy to do some S-turns. Yay! Gotta love S-turns, right? Well, looks like we made it safely. No ground loops or anything like that, so I'm feeling pretty confident about this landing here. We just need to get to the taxi area. Oh, good grief. Yes, lady, we know. Cut us some slack here. We still have a little ways to go before we even get to the taxiway. Sheesh. One thing I love about VR is being able to stick your head out so you can do your S-turns properly. And right about here is our turn off. And we'll give it a little bit of rudder, not too much. I don't want to ground loop here. There we go. With pleasure. Get me the heck off this channel. Oh my God, this lady won't shut up.
Going to 118.7 Tiger 70.
Great, and that is the last we ever heard of them. All right, dude, you are in my way, or maybe you're a dudette. I can't really see from the back here. Yeah, I think you're a dudette. Either way, you're still in my way, so I'm just gonna go around you here. And I do like the fact that the AI chose to represent a Rutan Long EZ. That is still one of the birds that I have yet to show you on this channel, so stay tuned for that. I promise you, Dino, I will do a review video of it. It's coming at some point in time. I've got to get through my long list here. But I do sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this first look video, this preview slash review, I guess, depending on how soon it ended up on YouTube. This has been the Big Radials P-40B Tomahawk. Indeed, a hawk of many names, sometimes called the Tomahawk, sometimes called the Kittyhawk or the Warhawk, depending on who you're asking and what version of it you're talking about. But I think they did an absolutely phenomenal job, and if you are into your warbirds, as it rapidly seems like MSFS is becoming the warbird sim, I would highly recommend you pick this up. And be sure to tell Big Radials that BelGeode and the 3 Grumpy Simmers sent you. They've got a special surprise waiting for you in the liveries, and that's all I will say. All right, so let's go ahead and power down, and as always, thank you for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and just to remind you, this has been the Big Radials P-40B Tomahawk. It is Payware. The link is in the video description below, and I highly recommend you pick it up if you love your warbirds. Alrighty, folks, you know what to do. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, all that good jazz, and I will catch you really soon with a start tutorial of this bird and some other fun shenanigans. Ciao!